doing this for a long time now. We're going to teach people about the world they lost. Help them start to rebuild it.
When we recorded our talk about life after losing a loved one, that was like in September last year, September 2020.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is obviously before we started rolling out the podcast and stuff like that. So it was a topic that I felt like would help a lot of people. And I mean, since 2020 played out from the holidays up to now, it's been kind of a crazy ride.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's probably best to revisit the topic of losing people that we love. Mm-hmm. And I mean, instead of life after losing a loved one, what I'm feeling is now that we're kind of in it right now, instead of life after losing a loved one, it's more of life while losing loved ones.
Yeah, because we talked about it when like years after.
Yeah, by the time we talked
Actually
about it in
losing.
September of last year, everything that played out. I mean, you were 11 when your dad died, and we were more than a year out, way more than a year out, because Mela was already born
Yeah.
after the miscarriage. So to revisit that episode at this point, I think a lot has changed. Not necessarily we look at things differently, but for me, it's important that we record now that we're in the middle of all this chaos that we've been kind of going through, that a lot of people have been going through. And like I said, from the holiday season up to now, things have gotten closer to home.
Yeah.
Closer to home than I think they'll ever be. And a lot of people are going through a lot right now. A lot of people are suffering right now, grieving.
Mm-hmm.
And grieving being a topic that we touched on in the past, it's super important. While we're in the middle of it, kind of document where we're at. It's not easy and it's not pretty. It's not super positive, but I think that's the direction I'm taking the podcast in now, is that, you know, it doesn't have to be the best topics in the world. Sometimes it's these hard topics that really, you know, help us reflect, not just, oh, we could help people. It's more of documenting where we're at and what we're learning, you know? So, I mean, first off, I just want to be completely sensitive to everyone, sensitive with everything that's going on in the world. Our friends, our families have been dealing with a lot of crap, you know? And it's hard because we're also dealing with it, but everybody's kind of grieving in their own way. And, you know, there's, I mean, we talked about the stages of grief and stuff like that, and it's just fluctuating. Every day's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those things where we kind of expected 2021 to be, you know, a continuation.
Yeah.
Kind of like dealing with the repercussions of 2020, right? The transition back to whatever normal life is. And I mean, simply put, I think obviously our listeners have seen all my posts, and we've been dealing with a lot, especially in the past month. So the person that I didn't want, you know, to get sick, got sick. And that took a lot for me to process right off the bat. It was more of a denial thing. And obviously you don't expect bad things to happen. But I've always said it in previous episodes. You expect good things to happen, but you prepare for the worst. And to know that it's possible, that still didn't even help deal with the reality, right? And losing her, you know, made me reevaluate life She had been sickly for the last few years. So of course everyone's been protective of her, but her getting sick, it was, we obviously didn't expect any of that to happen, but the fact that it did, a lot of things played a role into shaping what I look at now. No matter how hard I prepared, and no matter how hard we prepare for hard times, when the hard times hit, it's kind of, you still got to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think everybody's been dealing with loss in their own way. Being in the thick of it, obviously it doesn't feel good, which is why I'm kind of leaning towards this path of just having real talks.
Yeah.
You think it's over, and after we had the funeral and the burial of my grandma, you end up losing someone too. And I don't know, babe, what's in your head? I'm sorry, what's in your head? I'm just trying to figure out too.
Of course, me too. I mean, it's still a lot to process, I feel like, and just with everything being so unexpected, like what you said, we can prepare as much before, like knowing kind of like their situation and how it's been for, the past few years, but you just can never really prepare enough when it actually happens. Yeah. So I feel like I was also in denial for the longest time, kind of still am.
Yeah.
I think just knowing and, believing that she is in a better place, and just her situation over the past few years with her health, it does also make me feel happy that she doesn't have to suffer anymore. But of course, as humans, everything is part of God's plan, but as humans, we still miss that physical contact and seeing them physically, even though if, we know that she's with us and she's closer to us even more, it's still hard, for everyone. But
no, and me taking that, it's I'm talking to myself. Like it's a very selfish thing to want to keep that person. It's something for you. It's for me, right? If we lose that loved one that, like you said, we can't be with physically anymore, us wanting that physical attachment, that's still us looking out for what we want, and not really embracing the plan. Now that it's real, it's like you said, they're closer to us than ever before. But it's also us trying to grieve healthily, because some people try to rush through grieving. You can't rush it, and you have to go through each phase. And like we've said it in the previous episode on this, it's you cycle back to the denial for a little bit, then one day you wake up and you feel angry, or you're asking for more time, you're bargaining now. And now that we're in that kind of thick of it, I'm happy for her. That's one thing we've always wanted for our loved ones, is for them to be happy, for them to be at peace, and I believe that they are now. But it's that selfish wish of, I need more time with them.
Yeah. And I think it's different for us, especially just because there was some time lost. So we wish we had more time.
Yeah.
But I don't feel any regret or anything. It's just more, especially now that we have Mela, and we wish that, she was going to be here longer to see her grow up.
Yeah.
And, that's something that we wish for, and we hope for. But I'm just thankful that she even got to meet her.
Yeah.
And got to see her and, meet her first great-granddaughter.
Yeah, her first great-granddaughter. 4 generations separated. That's a blessing already. And she got to hold her. She got to attend her baptism, which was, for us, one of the most meaningful things she could have been able to do for us. And that was last year in the height of the pandemic, before things got really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something that I know she wanted for us. Things like that, it's, you look back and you just don't know when it's someone's time. I mean, as far as my grandma, obviously it wasn't sudden, but it's just, you just don't want that to happen. It's almost like you block it out. Yeah. I feel like I'm all over the place.
Just let it out. And that's the thing. I feel like obviously your mind is thinking about so much and you're feeling so many different things that you still don't even know exactly how you feel.
Yeah.
And that's why you feel like you're just all over the place, but you just got to go with it too, Yeah. And I feel like that's part of it. A part of the grieving process is trying to understand all your feelings and your thoughts and just, trying to do the best that you can and continue to live like our lives, but also, thinking about them, but just thinking about what they would want for us.
Yeah. I think the hardest part for me was because my grandma touched so many lives. A lot of people had relationships with her.
Yeah.
So, and I respect that completely. I understand that people were close to my grandmother and they have these special moments with her. It did get hard at some point, to be on social media, to see, other people grieving in their own way, and I appreciate the posts with her and they're sharing their lovely moments with her. It was hard because grieving in public wasn't something I ever did. And it was inspiring to see people's posts about my grandmother and how she changed her life. But there was that part of me that was like, no, man, but she was my grandma. And she was the only grandma I really had involved in my life, growing up especially. But I've always known that, my grandma was a special person that touched a lot of people. So she was never really mine. And I think that was one of the biggest sacrifices I ever had to make, and to accept that. Now that she has moved on, it's that feeling of, I wish I had more time with her because of that.
Yeah.
And that natural feeling of, no, she was mine. And obviously, I love everybody, especially the ones that have been really close to my family and been close to her. And I've messaged a lot of people my appreciation on behalf of my family for them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's crazy to me that I still had that feeling of, selfish desire, where it's like, no, but she was my grandma. Like, she's the only one I had. I kept saying that. And to appreciate someone and to be close to someone, I got to this place of understanding that it's not about me being closer. It's not about me showing people that I was closer or that she's my grandma. The life I live should be based on the relationship I had with someone special like that. So it's not just having pictures with her. It's not just saying that I was so close to her.
Yeah.
Is your life different because you were so close to her? So the lives that we live now should be better because of someone like that, because of someone so special in our lives. So when someone that special comes into your life, you should be different every moment after that. And basically, to let her legacy live on is for you to live everything that she taught you, for you to live everything that loved one changed about you in the best way possible. That's the only way that I feel is honorable. Mm-hmm. It's not, trying to show that I was closer than people. No, it's not about that. It's about, who are you now because of this person? Living the life is what that person would want. Mm-hmm. Living the life better because of what their life taught you. And, that hit me in little waves. Like she's all good. She's at peace. But we're still here.
Yeah.
We're stuck on this sick world that we live in. And it's sad. That's what makes me sad. I'm actually more sorrowful for us.
Yeah.
Because we're stuck in this shithole. And we still got to live the life.
Yeah, that's true.
We still have to fulfill our purpose. So for me, that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to figure out and appreciate life for what it is and not be so selfish. And, that's hard for everybody. But to live a life is not just, like, oh, you're going to be okay. Give it time. Time will heal all things, which is true. But for some reason, for me, it's not something I wanted to hear. I didn't feel like that helps me a lot to just be, like be super, I don't know, cliche, positive about things. And that's why you see in my posts, it's what people would misunderstand and misinterpret as kind of dark.
Yeah.
But the reality of it for me is that's life, man.
It's not always pretty. Yeah.
It's not always pretty. It's not always rainbows. It's not butterflies all the time. And I think to live a good life is to know how to swim in the storms. And I know I said this a lot probably, but because everything changes every day, we have to learn how to live in all circumstances. Because, when we were talking about our miscarriage, we were able to turn that into work. We were able to turn that sadness and frustration into physical exercise, physical activity.
Yeah.
Grieving now with the responsibility of another life is different.
Completely different.
And it has its goods and bads. It makes it easier sometimes. It makes it harder sometimes. And those days, like when she actually passed, there was a day where you had to go back to work and it was just me and Amela here at home. And it did help me to have the responsibility of her because she has no idea what happened. And she's hungry. That's all she knows. So me, being able to just focus on her and feed her, make sure she's okay, give her a nap. It was a distraction at that point. But it also plays a harder thing to deal with when you do have to deal with certain emotions and then she's fussy or something.
Yeah.
She's not having it. So it's the give and take of that. But now that we're going through all this with a child, it's just a different ball game. I feel like I don't have just, I need a day to go golf all day. I can't be at the golf course for like 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
You're at work, you have to work, and I have to take care of Mela. So it's an extra element on top of everything where there's less time for me to just sit by myself and kind of think and feel, which is something I used to do a lot in the past. Just sit and meditate, kind of pray all day. And I guess that's what made it different this time around, that I don't have that extra time.
Yeah, I feel that too. I mean, you know me, I'm not the type to really express or let out my feelings, especially like if I want to cry. Like, I like to do that by myself. But with having Mela, I agree. Like, you can't really like sulk in that sadness that you feel because there is somebody else that you have to look out for and like take care of, and
she
it just
depends on us.
distracts you. Like she distracts you, like in a good way, but I guess it just doesn't leave enough room for feeling sad and letting that out. And I admit too, like when I'm here with Mel while you're working, it really just takes my mind off of like how I'm really feeling. So of course, when we're playing, it's like you can't just leave her to play by herself. Like you have to, and especially now that she can actually see and you can tell that she feels our emotions. Like I remember when she passed away, that next morning, like me and Mela woke up, and of course, like I was obviously feeling sad, but when she woke up and she just sat up next to me and like she looked at me and then she was gonna cry.
She could tell.
Yeah, she could just tell. Like you can tell in her face, like she was sad right when she looked at me, and you can tell like she can feel and she knows. And just like little things like that, you just can't, you kind of have to put your own feelings aside for her or, forever, like your child or whoever you have to take care of. And there's good and bad things about that, because when you do have time alone, it just all comes out. And it's like sometimes you just don't know how to really feel or what to do with yourself.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like you have to like bottle it all up, and then sometimes it'll just explode, or all the emotions will just come at once. And I think that's like one of like the challenges and the difference between us just being like us two and now having like being us three.
Yeah. And it was like that throughout the entire time until probably the burial.
Yeah.
And after the burial, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't, everything was all good. It was, I definitely feel like it was lighter to finally put her body to rest. The next day, I felt like an uplift. It was like an enlightening feeling that I got. Going back to visit the gravesite, just us three, was very special to me because it didn't have to be around so many people. I think that was the hardest thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, grieving in public is horrible. Being around a lot of people, and I personally don't like a lot of attention on me. Like my family alone, like doesn't really like a lot of attention on us. So to go to the gravesite, just us three, and like we can just kind of sit down and enjoy the time, enjoy the sun, and talk to her. It was like a wholesome moment. I feel like it was fulfilling.
Yeah.
That helped with the acceptance. Honestly, it still lingers. It hits me again and again, every so often, even if I'm at work. I mean, not long after, a few days after, you found out about your grandfather.
Yeah. I mean, just when you think you got through one, and you're starting to, I guess, not recover, but
I would say,
like recover from the emotions and obviously everything from her passing away. And you find out, losing another person in your family. That was also unexpected. And it's just like it starts over again.
I know.
It's like I guess not necessarily over again, but it just kind of continues just when you feel like, you're starting to get better. And then something like this happens. It's like same thing. Like you just don't know how to feel. And I think that's just for me personally, that's always been one of the hardest part of losing somebody is not knowing how long to grieve for and when to kind of not just move on, but just to continue to live the life that you have. And I feel like that's still like the kind of tricky part too, because the way it played out when I lost my grandpa, that morning I was going to go to work. Like I went to work and as I was getting for work, I got a text, that he passed away. And it was crazy because he was actually at my work. Yeah. Like he was in another unit. So having to go there, I was able to see him before. And when my charge nurse, when she saw me, she was like, "What are you doing here so early?" Yeah. And then I had to tell her, and she was just like, "Oh my gosh, like, are you okay?" Like, and she goes, "Let me see what I can do." And so when the shift started, I guess like she was going to let me go home. She was like, just like go. Yeah. And then I had to think about it for a minute because I was like, that's where I was kind of torn, is because obviously emotionally it was hard, but I'm at work. I have to work. I have to do this. Like there was no way that I could just call off, especially with like financially. Yeah. Like, we need it financially. And I just felt so conflicted. Like, do I go home? Do I stay and do what I have to do? And then so I just told my charge nurse, I was like, like I'll just stay. Like I'm already here at work and there's really nothing I can do right now. Like I don't want to just be home sulking right now. And I have to be here. This is what I have to do right now. Mm-hmm. She's like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'd rather save it for like the funeral services if I can't really get the day off," kind of thing. Yep. And it made me think, that day, I had to work like the next 2 days in a row.
2 in a row. Yep.
So it was kind of like I didn't really get to feel my emotions fully. And I was torn. I was at work. I'm like, is it okay that I'm here? You know, like maybe I could be with my family, or
Yeah.
like, is this right? Like part of me was just kind of feeling that guilt of, is it okay to be working right now during this time? Or, you know, and I just I also came to realize too that like, yeah, I have to do what I have to do. And when that, I'll have my time when I could let my emotions out and just feel what I feel. But yeah, it was just a weird situation, and it was just something that I never had to deal with.
Because you go to work, like 30 minutes early, 20 minutes early.
Yeah.
And then 7 o'clock hits, you got to get report. Like, there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ask me, I think Grandpa Ape would want you to get what you needed to get done. Mm-hmm. I think that guilt is natural because, there's a lot of things that you could have been doing, being with family and things like that.
And it's like, is it okay that obviously I'm dealing with kids, I'm dealing with family. I can't be crying like when I'm at work. So when it's like when I'm laughing, when I'm playing with them, it's like, is it okay to be laughing right now when I just lost somebody? And it's just a weird dynamic of how you should feel, or is it okay to feel this way?
Yeah. And see, that's the thing. No one knows. Mm-hmm. No one has to know. I mean, that dilemma alone is for you to process, because these kids, your patients, they have no idea. Mm-hmm. And maybe, I mean, us being parents now, maybe it's best that they don't even know. The best supporters for anybody would be those that get things done without other people having to know. Mm-hmm. I bet you at the end of your 2 days, you ask your patients if they knew any of that, and they would have said no. Like, I had no idea she was going through all that. Because there is an element of locking up your emotions and knowing when to unlock it. Yeah. And that takes a lot of experience and realization too, of what needs to get done in order for us to live. I think, like I said, Grandpa Ape would want you to make sure that we're taken care of. Make sure that you're taken care of. Make sure that these patients and their families are taken care of. If you decided to go home, it would have been completely understandable. It would have been completely fine. Yeah. But you made that decision in the moment. And I think it's more than because it's finances too. I mean, I think you knew you were of service to people. Mm-hmm. And for me, a good leader doesn't leave the responsibilities hanging for someone else to pick up, even if the world is crumbling down on top of them. To me, that's a mark of a good leader, where the people you're serving have zero idea that you're crushed on the inside. That's powerful to me. That's not easy. That's not pretty. That's not pleasant. But it's what's best for everyone. Mm-hmm. Because you know you're going to have time, because you'll know you'll get through those days, and these people, they don't have to know, but they'll be better because you were there those 2 days. Everyone moves forward. You will have your time. And at that point, no one was neglected, I feel like. And like I said, if you left, another nurse would have taken over. They would have had a good day. I would argue that it wouldn't have been as good if it was another nurse. But that's what we're called to do sometimes. To let go of ourselves, let go of our ego, and to know that, you know what, sacrificing these 2 days for these people might actually help them a little bit more. And I'm sure it did. But that's what we're called to do every day. It's to give yourself, whether they know it or not. Again, to get to this level of understanding is rough. I remember there are days where I regretted because I neglected something because of my personal, because I was feeling a certain way that day or something. And I look back, it's like, well, I could have worked. I could have done that. And now, not only could they have had a better day with me, but financially that would have helped, but also emotionally it would have helped. Maybe staying home that day and sulking in your sadness isn't the most healthy thing. That's what I'm talking about. We live this type of dynamic life where we understand the moment and not fully knowing what's right.
Yeah.
You embraced it.
Yeah, I think just knowing the balance. I think
Yeah.
we know ourselves well enough to know, like talking to myself and realizing it again, it's like I know myself well enough to know what would help me at that time and what would be best for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, as undecisive as I am, it took me a while. I was like, can I think about it for a little bit?
Yeah.
And it's like, because, just trying to make that decision, like to really think, like, what's really going to help me right now? Like, just like going home or working and kind of staying busy and doing what I have to do. But I think, just learning how to balance your feelings and emotions with life.
Yeah. That's the craziest thing to me, is that we're balancing this boat still.
Doesn't get any easier, but
It won't. Because after this storm's over, there's always going to be another one. That's the reality. And that's why I always talk about it. And that's why I just go with the moment every time. The only moment that exists is really right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're just beginning with Grandpa Ape and with the family. It's we're still going to be going through a lot, and I think it's important for us to always just stay on top of it, to keep it in check, to know what we need to do, to understand when it's okay to feel, to understand when it's okay to distract, because really at the end of the day, we got to continue to live.
Yeah.
And that is what I feel like our loved ones would want for us.
I agree.
On the surface, it might look a certain way to some people, but our loved ones want us to continue to live the best lives that we can.
Yeah.
That's the truth. And since life is not going to be perfect, just ride the waves as best as you can. And we got to go through it all over again.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody could get used to this. And I know we have some close friends and some family that are dealing with things even more than I can imagine.
Yeah.
Like, what do you say? I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
When people are going through something that I can't even understand, like I can't even imagine what it's like. When you thought it was bad, at that point you had no idea that it could get worse. But it did. What do you say to a family that's been dealing with that?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because obviously everyone's different. Everybody takes loss differently and their grieving process is different. And that's just the tricky part, is like you want to give your condolences, but it's like, what else could you say other than we're here for you?
Yeah.
Like, that's all we pretty much have to do is, just let them know that we're here for them. And, that helps that people do reach out and to let you know that. And, we appreciate it. But at the same time, it's like, you don't know if it's something they need to hear or they don't want to hear, or loss is really tricky.
And on top of all that, we're still dealing with COVID and masks and separation and going to a funeral. Like, you don't know if people are okay with you hugging them, or it's just an extra element of discomfort on top of all this, where us as humans, we crave that camaraderie with people, that bond with people, to hug, to embrace each other out of love.
Yeah.
So to take that element out, it just makes it even more uncomfortable. I mean, some people, and I appreciate it, like they would message ahead of time, like, I don't know how you feel about, hugging or anything like that. Let me know. They would say, like, we want to respect, what you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And that's probably the best way to go about it.
Mm-hmm.
But for us to even have to worry about that already sucks.
Yeah.
It's like we can't be who we are. We can't be what we naturally love to be.
And it's hard to just be around family, like around your whole family, trying to like grieve together, or
With different households.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be around each other or that close to each other. So it's kind of,
And
it just made everything harder.
Yeah, just like not knowing everybody's comfort level. But yeah, time has definitely changed.
Yeah. The craziest thing to me is this is not going to be the last time. I would hope that there wouldn't be a newer one, and, knock on wood, there wouldn't be another thing to happen just right now.
Yeah.
But it's embracing the plan. It's embracing the almighty plan that we have no control over, but we can ask for guidance. We can ask for peace and acceptance of a plan.
Mm-hmm.
It was never our plan.
Yeah.
But whatever God wills of us on this earth is going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's just like another reminder. And like as cliche as it sounds, when we say like everything is part of God's plan, and it just made me realize too, like looking back at how everything played out, it really is, like God really has everything like written according to his plan, and just how everything played out, it really just makes you realize that the only thing that you're in control of is living your life and getting to heaven. That's like what we're in control of, is trying to get to where he is.
Yeah.
And regardless of what we all go through in life, especially with loss, it's all part of this life. And we now just have to focus. Yeah, we have to just be happy for the people who go before us.
Yeah.
And as much as it hurts, it's just, realizing that again after these losses this past like 2 months.
I think it's just a reminder of our mortality. We're all going to die.
Yeah.
At some point. In our own time. I mean, that's the only thing that's promised.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're born, one thing for sure is that you're going to die someday. I mean, embracing that just sounds like a very dark thought, but Memento Mori. It's remember that you will die, but they follow Memento Mori with a saying of Memento Vivere. It means remember to live. So death, the thought of death, the understanding of death gives you the contrast to live now. So because you're going to die, it's not the cliche like YOLO. It's when you're going through hardship, when you're going through a lot of stress and frustration, remember that someday you're going to die, and this stress won't even matter.
Yeah.
So to be in the moment, the contrast reminds you to live fully in the moment. Feel everything 100%. And that's something I try to do when I'm sad. I try to sit in it. You don't fight it. You don't try to resist it. You don't force it to change. You allow the feeling. Mm-hmm. And that is living. Living, like people say, live your life and stuff. Living life is also hurting. Living life is feeling pain and feeling sorrow. And just the thought of like happiness. I mean, happiness is derived from what is happening. So happiness isn't really equated to joy. Happiness is equated to embracing what is happening. Mm-hmm. And we kind of put this label on it like, oh yeah, being happy or, happiness is like joy. It's not necessarily that. It's actually being okay and sitting in what's happening right now. Which doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And that is how you get to heaven. By living every moment, embracing every feeling, and still doing what's best. not for you, but for everyone. What's the best thing that you could do in this moment right now? And if we do that every moment, I believe you would live a good life. And like you said, the plan is to get to heaven. The plan is to see your loved ones again.
Yeah, that's the goal.
And I don't know, people took it the wrong way maybe when I posted that I promised my grandma I'm going to see her again.
Yeah.
People might look at that as, oh dang, you're cocky, bro. But you know what? I find it concerning that someone wouldn't be confident. If someone's not confident, then I already feel like they don't think that they can do their best, that they won't give their best in this life. Yeah, you can call it cocky. I'll say I'm confident because I will do everything I can. If the goal is to die at peace, to rest in peace eternally as a soul, I'm confident that I will do everything in my power in this life to get there.
Yeah.
So that promise I made, for me, it's not just bold. I will do everything I can. So a promise is a promise. Because I want to see not only my grandmother again, not only your grandfather again, I want to be at peace with our Creator. If people have a hard time saying that concerns me more. That they're not confident in themselves, that they could do it. Like, if you're saying, oh man, I don't know if I can say that. What kind of life are we living then?
Yeah.
That is the plan. That will always be the plan. To rest in eternal peace. And again, I'm happy for those that moved on. For us that are still left here, we got to find a way. And it's not easy. It was never going to be easy. To get past your selfish emotions, like, oh, I don't feel happy. So, I got to just change my thoughts. Look past that stuff. Life will never be 100% perfect. It will never be 100% joy. Don't cling to joy. Don't attach yourself to perfect outcomes. Embrace whatever pain, whatever hardship you have right now. Obviously, it's easier said than done, but that's to live life.
Yeah. To
feel every bit of joy and pain, suffering, peace in every moment. Like, to find peace in the midst of a storm, that person has mastered life.
Yeah.
Which is what I think real peace feels like when you die. That no matter what happens, no matter the circumstance in front of you, you feel utter peace.
I mean, and it's a process to get to this way of, thinking and feeling. It's not like overnight. Or, of course, we're still both going to be going through that grieving process. But to come to this realization, it is a process.
It's a process to get here.
It's a part of our grieving process.
Yeah.
And it makes
and
us...
this is us reminding ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I forget these things.
Of course.
That's the weirdest part about these talks is that we end up talking about things that we need to hear.
Yeah. This is mostly us telling ourselves this. And I feel like us getting to this level of thinking or this realization is also help from the loved ones that we've lost. We still feel their love. We still feel that they're here for us. And it does make it like a little bit easier to know that they are still helping us and guiding us through this.
What they would want of us is to keep moving forward. We continue on the path.